Hey, everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank.
And I am Dan.
And coming up today, we're going to continue
We're going to chat.
conversation
Yeah, we're going to chat more.
that we started last week.
A more informed, or rather more, an in-depther look at what we talked about last week.
Which was, Dan, just quickly.
Grumpiness
Yeah.
and civility
Murr.
and all of those things. I mean, maybe not grumpiness so much as incivility. Yeah. Whoa. We wanted to say right off the top, by the way,
We do need to get this out of the way.
we're going to talk about this more later on, but we wanted to say that last week we played a clip from the Scathing Atheist show. Mm-hmm. And we were in touch with No Illusions, the host of the show, and he let us know that he felt that we misrepresented him. And so we wanted to make sure that you guys all know that's his feeling. I don't necessarily disagree with him. We kind of did misrepresent some of what he was saying. So we'll get into that more, but we wanted to just apologize to Noah
right off the bat and just say that's we try not to have that be our style over here at Thank God I'm Atheist.
Well, not only, I mean, our problem is that we just literally start blathering, and who knows what the hell's going to come out of these mouths of ours.
In case you guys haven't noticed, this is an unscripted show.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
You're not reading right now?
No. And any amount of editing that happens is seriously like...
We're way too lazy to edit our show all the way.
It's splicing the show together. It's not cutting stuff together and
we don't cut ourselves
taking bits out.
Yeah,
that was kind of a deal that we made with each other. Really, with the first episode,
right? Yeah,
whatever we record today, we're just going to post it.
Yeah,
and there's no takebacks.
No, unless something goes horribly awry, and we've had noises happen. We've had computer failures. We've had reasons why we stopped recording. But for the most part, our aesthetic is we just say what we're going to say, and when we're done, we post it, and we hope that we haven't literally offended everyone on the planet.
And so, consequently, we sometimes offend people.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about that further later on. To begin with, though, I'm going to jump in here. Mm-hmm. I'm relating two different stories that I read this week. There's a story in RNS, which is the Religion News Service, about whether there could be an atheist vote, a block, a significant atheist voting block.
Like how the Christian right has sort of turned themselves into a vote.
Right, indeed.
They get courted by candidates.
Yeah, right. Okay. And it means that their issues are more on the minds of the candidates. It means that when the candidates...
Disproportionately on the minds of the candidates.
Indeed.
Than any other issue in our nation.
Indeed. It's why laws keep getting written, voted in, and struck down over and over and over.
And so the question is, can atheists achieve sort of a same disproportionate representation in our system?
No, just some representation. It doesn't. It could even be proportional.
Just start with some representation.
We'll just take any. We'll start with any and move on from there.
A modicum of representation.
Yeah, it'd be nice. It's the article quotes David Silverman of American Atheists.
Oh yeah,
who's talking about and also Kelly Damerow of the Secular Coalition of America.
All right.
Both of whom are talking about trying to sort of coalesce not just members of their organizations, but like the nuns, the humanists, the people, not nuns being Catholic nuns, but the people.
Although could be a major constituent to court.
What, the Catholic nuns?
Catholic nuns, they're great.
I feel like they don't quite align with what we want.
Well, okay.
Anyway, but the trick here is that we don't all believe the same things.
Yeah, I was actually just wondering that. How do you distill this down to one thing that everybody can get on board for? I mean, what is the issue?
Well, there are several issues. So Silverman outlined a few of those. Emphasis on church and state issues, tax exemption for churches. Turning those into sort of economic issues. Reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance, that sort of thing. These are educational, these are economic issues. They're not religious issues.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
sure.
that. So he's trying to reframe things.
Interesting.
The other story that I wanted to relate to this is that American Atheists as an organization has made some big changes this week to their organization.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they've now actually they're opening an office in Washington D.C.
Oh dear God.
And that will be headed by the new National Legal and Public Policy Director Amanda Knief, who's been working for them for a long time. I don't know if she just says Knief or if you pronounce the K. I don't know what to say with that name. Anywho, she will be trying to sort of spearhead this political agenda now.
Lobbying.
Yeah, indeed.
She's going to be a lobbyist.
I think so.
Yeah, we're interesting. On behalf of the nuns.
The us's.
On behalf of atheists, though. If it's American atheists, she's there for her own.
So their emphasis is now towards voter engagement, political action, and legal advocacy.
Okay.
It does mean that some people lost their jobs, including Danielle Moscato, who will no longer be working for them.
Downsized.
I guess so.
Interesting.
Yeah,
well,
Danielle, who was on our show as Dave Moscato, but is now transitioning to a woman.
So wait a second.
Mm-hmm.
So they've shifted gears to being about policy. Are they? What? How did Danielle Moscato get downsized?
I don't know. I don't know if they just couldn't afford her anymore, or if she was, if they just don't feel that they need. I mean, she was a PR director,
right?
And maybe they just don't need that position anymore. I don't. There wasn't an explanation that was offered.
This is not dancing on anybody's grave, but does this mean that there are going to be no more of those stupid billboards?
I don't know. One could only hope.
I'm sure that Danielle did far more at American Atheists than just the billboards.
Well, I don't even think she was in charge of the billboards.
Oh, no?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Nonetheless, that's unfortunate for her. So,
yep. So anyway, she's a friend of the show, and so we regret that. But she has nothing but nice things to say about the organization. And
well, that's good.
So
any hint where she's going, just out of curiosity?
No plan as yet.
Oh, okay.
So, but she does want to continue in atheist activism.
Fantastic.
So there you go.
It's a worthy cause.
I suppose so.
All right.
We're kind of doing it.
Ish.
Well,
the operative word was kind of.
Kind of. We're kind of doing it.
We just talk into microphones and
that's a thing.
See what happens.
That counts as a thing. Anyway, go on. Moving on.
All right. Well, I have the story of a man who was digging in his basement. He was digging up a basement. I guess he was renovating a home. And this is up in Alberta, actually. And he came across an entire school of fossilized fish in the limestone that he ran into, right? And it all gets turned over to paleontologists.
Sure.
As thank God.
That makes a lot more sense than like turning it over to, a preschool or something.
Well, yeah, it does. It does. But I mean, he could have just been like, "Oh, well, look at that,"
and then just thrown it away.
Exactly.
In the skip.
He could have.
Sure.
Right. Instead, he turns it over to paleontologists at the University of Calgary.
Sure.
And one Ms. Darla Zelenitsky looked at them and has now said that they swam in waters about 60 million years ago, which he doesn't care for. The problem is he's a creationist,
right?
And so he's denouncing the findings of.
Does he know what scientist means?
As the man who was digging in the basement, he does not believe what the scientist had to say about the thing that he found that he knows nothing about.
Right.
He contends that no, No, these got here during the Great Flood,
Right.
which was, as everybody knows, about 4,500 years ago.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Ms. Zelenitsky. But I reject your findings, madam. I reject them. Thank you. Good day.
Right. Yes.
But it's actually a really fascinating discovery. They believe she believes that it may actually be a new species.
Okay. Or an old species, newly discovered.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for the clarity. I'm sure people were confused.
Yeah, just pointing that out.
That they're not springing forth from the limestone. They were. Yes, thank you. You always have put such a nice...
I have a very incisive mind.
Yeah, but the best part about this whole story is a quote from Mr. Edgar Nurnberg, who is the man who was digging in the basement. And this is what he had to say. I subscribe to the creationist position, and I believe they were laid down in Noah's flood about 4,500 years ago. We already know that that's his position.
Right.
And then he goes on to say, but we agree to disagree.
Oh, well, yes, I think she's very fine with that agreement. She will definitely disagree with you. That's amazing. What did he think she was going to come back and say?
Oh, my God. They're only 4,500 years old.
Oh, this proves Noah's flood.
He thought he found the proof.
What? In what world is that? Oh, okay.
And then he also says later on in the article, he's quoted as saying that he has come to, quote, accept the fact that we all have different opinions.
Well, yeah. You don't get different facts, though. You can have your own opinion.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's amazing to me that it's just an opinion.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. It's just, I mean, look, it's just an opinion.
Yeah.
Her opinion.
Yeah. Her scientific opinion.
Based solely on, and really based almost only on, countless decades and volumes of work done by thousands of scientists over the course of hundreds
Centuries.
of years.
Yes.
That's all she's basing her opinion on.
That's it.
That and also meticulous testing
Right.
and knowledge of sort of rock strata and that sort of thing. That's all she's basing her opinion on.
And he is basing his equally valid opinion on the scribblings
of Bronze Age
Age mystics,
anonymous authors. So, 6 of one, 500,000 of another. It's like,
yeah.
See what I did there?
Yeah, that was okay.
Yeah, it wasn't great. You're right. I'm going to move on.
It was clever. I see what you were doing.
I'm going to move on to a different college. This one is a college in India called Jorhat College.
Oh.
Parentheses, amalgamated. I don't know what that would mean, but there you go. Jorhat College, amalgamated, has made an announcement that I think is very interesting.
Okay.
Mostly because it's not, some liberal college here, in the eastern United States or whatever.
Right.
This college has now decided that it will accept openly transgender and openly atheist students.
Wow.
So they just released a thing that said that admission forms for the college for the next academic year, starting in July, will differ from other colleges as it will have an additional option in the gender column apart from male and female for transgender or the third gender.
I don't buy it. I think they're smoking them out.
It's a trap.
I think they're tired of the transgender and atheist folks sneaking their way in.
Yeah, well, okay. Frank is taking the Admiral Akbar approach.
It's a trap
to this. They've said they've also the president of the college has said this is not only an important step taken by the Institute, but a rational one too, based on the principle of equality and non-discrimination that every society should practice.
I don't buy it.
Don't just check mail. Doesn't matter. Just don't let them know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Well, that's it seems like a good step, but here's an interesting point. Mm-hmm. If I were, let's say, Danielle Moscato, I wouldn't check transgender. I would check female.
Oh, right. The gender that you identify
that
as.
You are. Yeah. So
maybe it comes from a good place.
It comes from a good place.
Good intentions, but perhaps ill-informed.
Yeah, it seems like it would be far better for them to just say, "We'll just accept whatever you say about your gender," or just, "How about you don't?" They want demographic knowledge of who's attending their
university. I actually don't. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Because at a certain point I'm sure there's. Again, I'm just trying to put myself in the mind of a transgender person, right? And there's probably a moment when you are feeling pretty good and happy and excited about it, and you kind of want the world to know. Mm-hmm. And then there's going on with the rest of your life in the gender that you felt you were since you were a child,
right? And
just wanting just to be a man or a woman and not having it be an issue anymore.
Right. As opposed to being a trans man or a trans woman.
Right. And there will clearly be those that identify with that. I am a trans man. I am a trans woman.
Sure.
But you're right. There has to be a subset of that community that just wants to be a man and just wants to be a woman.
Right.
Again, though, I sadly, I have to plead ignorance. I honestly don't know the community well enough.
But maybe it's nice that they just have the option. If you want to just identify as man or woman, do that. If you want to identify as trans, you can do that.
Just don't hold them at fault for checking male when you think they should have checked third gender.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if the college gets pissed at you because you checked male and they want you to just cop to being trans, that could be
but it is interesting how different cultures will understand gender differently as well.
Yeah.
And so there might be some interesting gender discussion going on in India that's a little different than ours.
Sure.
As well.
Sure. So. The constructs might be slightly off, slightly different.
Or off.
Or
they're
off.
Wrong.
It could.
Clearly, they're wrong. Whatever their approach is, Dan.
About so many things. I think what we can say, one doesn't want to generalize about India much, but what we can say is that they're usually wrong. Anyway,
all right.
What do you got?
What's my next one? All right, I'm going to stick with this one. This one also comes from Canada.
Oh.
Why am I picking on Canada?
I don't know. It's just in time for I don't know.
Canada Day?
Well, that's a month away.
Damn.
Anyway, go on.
This one, citynews.ca is claiming exclusive. Muslim boys high school soccer team refuses to play against team with two girls.
Oh.
So it's a Muslim high school, and it sounds like they're in some sort of it's a private, Islamic high school that is in some sort of like athletic association with other secondary schools,
right?
And so, but they're like private or religious,
sure,
secondary schools.
Got it.
And so the Robert F. Hall Catholic School fielded a team with two girls on it.
Okay.
And the policy of the Region of Peel Secondary School Athletic Association, or RAPSA, is that if a school does not have a girls' team in a specific sport, that girls can play on the boys' team if they try out and make the team.
Sure.
So these two girls tried out for their school's soccer team.
Got it.
And they got on. Well, another member school run by an Islamic organization.
Doesn't like it.
Doesn't like it.
You know what I think they should do? Here's how you handle this situation. If you're the team that's fielding 2 girls, you just start mocking them and saying, this isn't about your religion. This is because you're too afraid that you're going to get beat by girls. Oh, you're going to get beat by a couple girls. You're scared, huh?
Yeah.
I think that's what you do.
The girls supposedly, voluntarily, sat out the game.
Oh.
Which is bullshit. Robert F. Hall Catholic School.
Yeah, they shouldn't have even asked them to do that.
I don't know if they were asked,
to...
whatever. The article says the girls were like, we're not going to cause a problem for our team or for anybody. Everybody gets to play today except us.
Where are the grown-ups in this? The grown-ups should have
said, no, absolutely not,
we're
sweetheart.
not doing this.
Absolutely
Thank you for that.
They get to forfeit.
Right. We're going to show up and put our team on the field, and they can make whatever decision they're going to make.
Yep. I agree.
That's the grown-up thing to do. And I never know the grown-up thing to do. So if I know it, then they should know it.
Well, the Islamic high school, the coach of their team has said that they, when the next time, I guess both schools ended up qualifying to go on to the next round in whatever tournament-y thing they might be currently in or doing or whatever.
Yeah.
So they will most likely possibly
play again.
And if they do, the Islamic school has said that they will forfeit and walk away from that one. So
maybe it was a tactic. Maybe if they sit the girls out for one game, then they can get both teams into the playoffs, and then the Islamic team has to forfeit.
I'm sensing a conspiracy here between the Catholics and the Muslims.
I like it better if there is one.
But of course, what's so nutty is that like somebody from the coach of the ISNA High School, Essa Abdul Karim, he said we were a little caught off guard because we assumed it was a senior boys league and exclusively for boys. Free mixing is generally something we do not do, more so out of respect than anything. I love how the Muslims always term it as like this respect for women.
You think that's just Muslims?
Well, but Muslims, they always do
Muslims do it. Mormons do it. It's all whenever someone is oppressing a woman in the name of religion, it's to respect her.
And it's such fucking bullshit. They need to be called on it every single time.
Here's what needs to happen. Every time, like, the United States jails a Muslim for, let's say, for terrorism.
Yeah.
They should say, "Oh, we're doing this out of respect. we need to put you in this jail cell out of respect for you, and your beliefs.
Yeah,
we'll
this
just
is
keep
how
you in,
we respect you.
We're just gonna keep you in here out of respect.
Yeah, we like to limit your freedom out of respect.
Yeah, so that you can't debase yourself.
Yeah,
we're just gonna keep you in here.
Special Muslim one.
Yes.
How special.
How we respect you. I'm going to move on to another way of respecting. It's bad respect. More bad respect. In my opinion, I'm just going to say, for me, this is bad. The creators of Ben and Jerry's ice cream have created some beautiful things. They have made some very lovely flavors.
Yes, yeah, that's
They have
true.
contributed to the taste profiles of America.
Yes.
But every now and then they'll solicit input from the various taste buds of Americans.
Okay.
And their number one requested ingredient, they say, will never become ice cream.
Cannabis.
Bacon.
Bacon?
They will never put bacon in their ice cream. Because it's
not marijuana.
No, they're just trying to keep it kosher.
Shut up.
They're trying to keep it kosher.
What?
Almost all of their products are able to be labeled kosher. And let me tell you something, if they put bacon in, it's unkosher two ways. It's unkosher because there's pork.
Right.
And it's unkosher because there's meat and dairy mixed together.
Oh, dear God.
Which they're not allowed to do.
Oh, I thought, okay.
Huh. So,
And it would probably throw off the whole plant for the approval for whether it's kosher or not.
So
right?
Part of this started with somebody invented a graphic designer named John DeFriest made a splash when he mocked up a fake flavor of Ben & Jerry's inspired by Parks and Rec. Ron Swanson on Parks and Rec. So the flavor was called all the bacon and eggs you can have. Oh no, sorry, all the bacon and eggs you have.
Okay,
because I think that was a line he just said, "Give me all the bacon and eggs you have."
Yeah.
I think anyone who's ever had bacon on anything sweet knows that this is a good idea.
Well, where are the eggs?
Don't do eggs.
There needs to be, I assume, some scrambled eggs.
Gross.
Some yolk, a little vein of yolk running through.
Oh God! No, you just take it. You just make a custardy thing.
That's not true to the ingredient of what we're talking about here.
There's eggs in custard, and that's as far as I'm willing to go. Stop talking about eggs. Start talking about bacon, because that's what we're talking about here.
The bacon that will never be in the ice cream.
The bacon that will never be.
Why not have one that's not kosher? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
I think if enough pressure was applied, maybe we could convince them to have a non... It's not like there's going to be a Jew who's going to look at the flavor and go, oh,
oops,
bacon and whatever.
Yeah.
I that's probably fine for me. I don't see how that could go wrong. Wait a minute. Is there bacon in this?
Yeah.
In my bacon ice cream?
What about, is it possible to achieve, what if it was just like Bacos? Like some sort of like vegetable product that's not actually bacon. Right.
Well, there was talk of somebody asked about kosher bacon, which is made with beef, but it still runs afoul of the whole meat and dairy problem.
Right, which is why I'm saying totally artificial, totally fake. Just
vegan bacon?
Puffed vegetable of some kind that's flavored really smoky and salty, and with something that will give it a meaty flavor.
And then what they can do is like rig the packages so that when you try to open it, it just pokes you in the eye, because that's not bacon.
You're telling me you hate Bacos?
I'm telling you, bacon is bacon, and only.
I don't even know if
bacon.
Bacos are actually vegetable. I have no clue what Bacos are made of.
I thought
they're artificial, but I could be totally wrong.
They're probably
there has to be
made
some
of
meat in there somewhere.
Yeah, probably. I mean, there's, Lord knows, there are plenty. There are the vegans and the vegetarians of the world have tried very hard to approximate pretty much every meat product they can find. They always fail at that, but I don't know. Wouldn't you be honest? Wouldn't you adore like some sort of like caramel bacon treat delight?
It'd probably be fine.
It'd be so good.
It'd be fine.
Oh my God, you guys, it would be so good.
Well, what you could do,
like coffee caramel bacon.
How about this? They need to have a little side portion. When you open the canister, right, there's a little pocket, there's a little divider, and there's bacon in that divider, and you just stir it in yourself. This seems like a perfect
How does that help?
Kosher workaround thing, right? Because it's not in the product. It's not in the ice cream.
So the Jews can only open it up until the point of the bacon and go no further.
No. You open the thing, right? You take the lid off the little tub, right?
Yeah.
So there's a little wall.
I get it.
In the tub, right? With its own little seal across the top.
Okay.
So
the Jews just don't unseal the bacon.
They leave the bacon sealed to keep it kosher. And then, but if you want the bacon, you unseal the bacon.
No.
And then you spoon it out.
The Jews are not going to buy this. They're just going to not buy it. That's their workaround. The Jewish workaround is, I'll buy the kosher kind next to it.
Right.
I'll buy the flavor that's sitting right next to this flavor.
Sure. That's fine. But I'm saying, can't we both, can't we have our cake and eat it too?
Our bacon? Well, there you go. Save the bacon is what I want. But they're not going to do it.
Yeah. Terrible idea.
It's sad.
All right. I want to go to Ireland. We cannot leave Ireland and their gay marriage vote out of the show this week.
It was a big deal.
Landmark vote.
Faith in Magora.
Crazy. I mean, Ireland, this is a pretty Catholic place.
Yeah, and what's not Catholic traditionally is pretty Protestant.
Are you thinking of Northern Ireland?
I'm thinking of all of Ireland.
Okay.
And of the fact that there's stuff going on between.
Right.
There has traditionally been problems.
Anyway, Ireland.
It's Christian is what I was trying to get at.
The country that has about 90% of its public schools run by the Catholic Church.
90%?
Yeah, something around
Holy
that.
crap.
Yeah. There's priests and nuns in all the schools.
Oh my God.
Anyway, this is the country. Yeah, this country is conservative, and they just voted. It's considered basically a landslide decision at 62% of the voters rejecting the traditional definition of marriage in their country. And I mean, there's some pretty amazing headlines around this story, about this story.
Yeah.
Throwing off Catholicism and whatnot. Who knows how much of that is true?
Sure.
What is true is that this is a country that has decided to go in the direction of equality.
Well, what's shocking about this is that this is the first country to ever, as a nation, embrace marriage equality by popular mandate. This has never happened before. There have been lawmakers that have made laws. There have been all sorts of ways of doing it.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But it's never happened.
It wasn't through the normal legislative bodies.
This was the country voted, and this is where it fell down.
Okay.
That's a big deal.
That is a big deal. What's also interesting is this is starting to shed light on other parts of Europe.
Oh.
Places that are far less conservative, like Germany.
Okay.
And one Ms. Merkel.
Angela Merkel.
Who came out and said this week that she recognizes, let's see, where's the quote? Today was an important milestone in dismantling discrimination. This is a spokesperson for Angela Merkel. And the chancellor is pleased about that. But same-sex marriages are not a goal of this government.
Oh.
So very interesting. Germany, 75% of voters approve, totally in support of gay marriage.
And yet they don't have it yet?
And yet the center-right ruling party is not going for it.
They're just not putting it on the agenda.
Right.
It'll get there. They all know it'll get there.
But it's very interesting because there's only a few places left in Europe that don't have gay marriage.
Yeah.
Switzerland, Austria.
Switzerland takes a neutral position on marriage entirely.
They didn't list Italy on here. Italy, of course, doesn't have gay marriage yet. Although there are places in Italy that are going rogue on the issue.
Are there?
Yeah,
the Vatican being one of them. I mean, they don't call it marriage; they just call it having sex.
Ew, damn!
I'm just saying everybody in the Vatican is gay. I'm just saying all of the priests and cardinals in the Vatican are gay people,
and they're all having sex with each other. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wouldn't you?
Not with them. It's disgusting, Dan.
They're all old.
That's my outrage, Dan.
But they're rich and they're wearing such fun clothes.
They do have fun clothes. And I will say, they probably really know how to party.
Right?
But they're probably really gross.
Remember the story we did a year ago about all the cocaine that was being funneled into the Vatican?
Oh, yeah.
You think they were selling it? Hell no. They were partying.
Yeah, and it was a shit ton as well. Holy crap.
Anyway, if you'd like to comment on this or any of the things that we have talked about today, we would love to hear from you. You can write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave a voicemail message at 424-666-8442.
Yeah, go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click on that like button.
Also on Facebook, you can search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join it.
Yeah.
You might get let in.
Yeah, if you pass muster.
Basically, if you're a listener of the show.
If you're a person.
Yeah. And what's great about that is that it's perfectly private. So if you're concerned about who can see what you're posting about atheist-type topics, that's a safe place to post.
It is indeed. Are we going to listen to somebody else talk for a second?
Yes, we are.
Other than us?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are, Dan. This is one Mr. Pat Robertson.
Patrick J. Robertson III.
And
that is not his name, by the way. Go on.
He's, he loves a good exorcism.
Oh,
let's just leave it at that.
Don't we all?
Tricia says, I think my daughter is possessed by a demon. She's in jail, and I can't even stand to be around her long enough to go visit her. Do you have to physically touch someone or be around them to cast out a demon, or can I pray it out of her from afar?
Well, it depends on how good you are at praying, but the answer is yes, you can pray it from afar. But I think you ought to get a group together and maybe see that daughter, but you may have to have an exorcism. I don't know what she's got. But I do know that sometimes, but the last thing you want to do is to get together and start singing There's Power in the Blood. You don't serenade demons. You command them in the name of Jesus to leave. And I think doing that long range, you see the Lord dealing with the Gadarene demoniac. The man came to him, fell at his feet, and Jesus, the demons were talking to Jesus. So I think... I don't know, she's in jail. I don't know if the jailers would allow you to have a little intercessory deliverance meeting if you brought some people in.
Well, if she can get enough time with her, she could just say it real quick, and just cast that demon out if the daughter's open.
Well, you need prayer, but I mean, I had a demon say, you can't have her, she's mine. And I said, no, demon, you can't. So sometimes they'll talk to you, and you've got to respond. How come she's got the demon? How come, what did she do to get possessed? You need to look into something beyond that, and you also need to make sure that you know what you're talking about, that she hasn't got some mental illness that needs psychiatric care or some chemical intervention to keep her sane. Be sure you know what you're talking about before you start casting out demons that may not be there. All right.
He is Nutsville.
I love it. I love it. Like, in the same breath, like demon, demon, demon. Oh, but be careful. Could just be mental illness.
Ask your neighborhood jailer.
It might be. Jailer. As we were listening to that, he said the word jailer, and we were both like, what century does this guy live in? We have jailers. Go fetch a cooper to make a barrel for the water of the jail. It's
But
I do
demons.
I do like the idea of serenading a demon.
That's exactly where I was gonna go. Yep. Lullaby, little demon. Well, the problem is they just like it too much.
Well, I'm not trying to get rid of them. I want more demons. I want a lot of demons. I want to just see what happens when there's a whole demon party.
If it turns out they're real, Dan,
I'm in trouble. I already tried to sell my soul to the devil. He didn't take it.
He didn't take it.
I don't feel like there's any. I don't feel like
he's already got your soul, Dan.
Oh, okay.
He needs Joel Osteen's soul.
Yeah,
that's who he. Although I think Joel Osteen.
You might have Joel's soul too.
Yeah. Joel didn't get the what is it, the Astrodome? What is it called?
It's the old. It's the old place where the Houston Rockets used to play.
I don't know what that's called.
Yeah. I don't know what it's called either.
It was a sports arena of some kind.
He owns an arena. You don't own an arena and keep your soul. That just doesn't get to happen. Anywho, we had some folks write and or call into us. Robbie from Texas wrote in. He said, hey guys, I wanted to make two comments. First, about organ donations. I gathered research material for a professor as a grad student who was working on a book about the history of corpse stealing and looting.
Oh, dear God.
He was apparently interested in the idea of misusing organs donated by deceased peeps, as many of the articles I had to skim over were in that topic, too. There were numerous articles that covered the different uses of skin that gets donated.
Ew.
Many people think it goes to burn victims or people otherwise in need, but according to these articles, many tissue banks can sell their received donations to other businesses for things like male augmentation surgery.
And wallets.
And, yeah, sure.
That calfskin wallet you just bought? Mm-mm.
I avoided the joke I was going to make, and we're all the better for it.
Oh,
he says,
really? I want to hear it now.
He says, I don't think it's common.
Really?
Oh, you really want to hear it?
Why not?
Oh,
I mean, you
God.
said that.
Well, the moment's passed. You said calfskin wallet. I was going to say foreskin wallet, but it's a different. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I told you. It wasn't a good. It wasn't.
Yeah, but you can't say that you're going to say a joke and then not say it.
I tried to.
Okay, where else?
Anyway,
other than wallets, how is the skin used?
Robbie continues. He says, I don't think it's common if it happens at all, but it was interesting. He says, I still have my box checked. I assume that means he has the donation, the organ donor box checked on his thing.
Dan, where is your dirty little mind going?
I just said that's what he means. Anyway, that's all I said. On vegetarianism, he says, I am one. National Geographic did a series for a while about overpopulation. The series said that our modern heavy meat diets waste a lot of land use, which restricts our ability to maximize food yield per acre. Mm-hmm. For every 1 pound of beef, for instance, it took something like 7 pounds of grains to produce it. Because of this, the articles estimated that by 9 billion people, there would be a mass food shortage in many developing countries,
thus solving the overpopulation problem.
Ta-da! I don't think that's how we wanted to solve it. We didn't want to starve too many. Well, we got too many. Hope you're fit enough to live.
Self-correcting.
Good luck with that.
Jesus Christ. And the email address was, what was it again?
We don't have an email address.
Disapproval?
We don't have any email address. He says, as a hypothetical alternative, if everyone ate vegetarian diets, we could reach roughly 14 billion before we maximized our land use.
We don't want that.
Yeah,
We don't want that. First of all,
I mean, hooray.
We're going to run out of materials to make iPhones before we can get iPhones for 15 people.
There's going to be so many problems.
There's going to be, yeah.
Can you grow a hydroponic cow? That's the next step. The hydroponics for everything. We'll just have like skyscraper-sized farms that go up. They're vertical.
Sure.
Of like tomatoes here and corn there and cows.
That's a terrible idea.
Anyway,
as was every idea that I suggested.
Right,
everybody. I don't believe any of it.
We've all got bad ideas. Frank and Dan. It's bad idea time with Frank and Dan. Thanks for writing in, Robbie. We also had. Wait, let me find. Why don't you play the voicemail?
Yeah, okay.
Because the rest of it's all on the same topic.
Oh, is it now? Yeah. Okay. Here's a caller with he wants to draw some distinctions between sort of atheism and everything. Anyway, I'll let him explain his position.
Hey, Frank and Dan, this is Brandon. Shout out from Garland, Texas, a little suburb of the massive metroplex that is DFW, as I'm sure you remember as you passed through it in a little road trip. Anyways, what I wanted to talk about today, I was wanting to bring up the issue of the atheist movement as a whole, or rather, in my opinion, the fact that we're not really a movement in the sense that we don't stand for anything. As it is, atheists are people who just are not theist, as in people who do not have a monotheistic belief in like a god, Judaism, monotheism, etc. So what I see here is a problem kind of like what the religious right is dealing with now, is they're trying to include as many people as possible to get their vote, but in including all the people that they're including a lot of voices that most people wouldn't want to generally associate with. Now, what I'm referring to is a lot of our more vocal atheist leaders who are, shall we say, rather off-putting to most people in general, not just religious. So basically, it comes down to the argument between skepticism and atheism, whereas atheism is merely where you end up. Skepticism is the mechanism behind it. So I think that we should be standing for a skeptical movement rather than an atheistic movement. You guys are awesome. Thanks for everything.
Well, thanks, Brandon.
Yeah.
I think that it's an interesting point. We kind of touched on this earlier in one of my stories because we touched on the idea that atheism that
might actually be a little bit more cohesive with the rest of the non-believers.
Yeah, I think that the idea is that there are certain things that bind us together. That
Right.
You're absolutely right that atheism as a concept is not a thing.
Right.
It's just the lack of a belief in a thing.
Right. If we can keep the advocacy for sort of the atheist community, nuns and agnostics and everything, if that can be limited to church-state, separation,
right,
and maybe one or two other issues that we can all clearly agree on, and it doesn't morph and start to develop its own politics within that movement, and one group starts to get their priorities, whatever they may be, then I don't see any problem with it.
Yeah,
because it does sound like that's sort of what he's using the religious right as an example. We have sort of unsavory types who are getting a little too much of a soapbox,
right,
to stand on.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea isn't that that, at least for you and me, Frank, I think that what we're not about, forwarding atheists. We're about making sure that things are equal for everybody.
Absolutely,
so that we have the same rights that the Christians do, and that our kids, when they go to school, aren't indoctrinated into something that that would be inappropriate,
right? Or that there's some informal litmus test for public office,
right?
Whatnot. That's a religious litmus test.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But those are still problems in our
those are problems, but those are goals that if we adopt those as a community, those are easy.
Yeah. So there is a movement there, and I think that that's it. But I mean, I do like the idea that to promote skepticism. I mean, I think that that's a good thing.
Yeah, no. There should be people out there who are,
or critical thinking.
About that. Critical thinking
is what we need to be advocating for, at least in the schools and whatnot.
Yeah,
but I don't agree that there's no basis for an atheist movement. Anyway, I'm going to move on to some feedback that we got. We got lots of feedback from last week's show, Frank.
Did we touch a nerve?
I think we touched many a nerve on last week's show. We're talking about civility, our listeners will recall, and about the idea of what's effective in communicating with others and what's not effective in communicating with others.
Yes.
And, so I'll just read some emails, and then you and I can get talking, because that's what our final segment's going to be about.
Okay.
Mark wrote in and said, I have only been subscribing to the podcast for a few months, but I really enjoy it. That said,
oh boy,
I cannot tell you how much I disagree with your thoughts on this topic. You are certainly fond about sniggering behind the backs of the religious for at least an hour a week, but completely spineless when confronting them? Count me out. Yes, we are at war, and yes, we are seriously outnumbered, which is all the more reason to stand up and fight. I had no idea your ideas were this flaccid.
Oh boy.
Would you have me meet Pat Robertson and tell him, quote, you think God is punishing America for letting gay people live? Gee gosh, I don't feel that way. They don't hold views that are worth respecting, and I claim the right not to respect them. You go ahead and honor the dignity of deranged and deluded fascists. Keep giggling from your blanket fort and don't trouble yourself to take a stand.
What?
There are plenty of us who will.
Wow. Dan. Sorry, Dan, I can't see you because there's a pillow in the way.
That's the question. Like, how did he know that we're in the blanket for it? Like, we've talked about doing video of the show, but how did he know? It's weird. By the way, Mark, if you don't have a blanket fort, get in one. They're the best.
Dan. Yeah, sorry, Mark, but
no, Mark. So that's what Mark said. I'm going to read some other guys, and then we can just launch into everything.
Perfect.
G'day, Frank and Dan. I will refrain from doing an Aussie accent.
Oh boy.
But this
Thank you.
This is from Jeff. G'day, Frank and Dan. Love your show. Just finished listening to the most recent episode and felt moved to respond to your comments regarding No Illusion's stance on mockery and the like.
Okay.
For a start, I'm absolutely on board with the position of ideas are fair game, people aren't. Fuck, for all I know, I may well be one of the original champions of the position, and I may well be able to read at some point. As such, though, he says, I think you've incorrectly conflated a few things, so here's a friendly flea in your ear. Firstly, and most importantly, I think that you and I have different intended audiences in mind, and the Scathing Atheist speaks to my audience far more than it does to yours. See, my intended audience, and that of the Scathing Atheist, I think, isn't so much the seriously religious. I hesitate to speak for Noah, as he's utterly capable of speaking for himself, but I think his intended audience, as demonstrated by his seesaw analogy, is, like mine, the silent majority. My aim, and I've been a mouthy cunt for reason for a long time now, has never been to convert the true believer. That seems to me to be a waste of energy, since true believers aren't actually open to opposing views or logic, or any of that shit. My aim is to expose the fucktard bullshit the true believers spout with ridicule, satire, and yes, outright mockery, in order to empower the lukewarm believers, as Noah once was, to start questioning. The point in reasoning with fanatics isn't to convince the fanatic, it's to allow everyone else to see how fucking dangerous and stupid the fanatic's ideas are, and give them a chance to reject them. He goes on, but I think that gives a good feeling for his point.
Okay, awesome.
So let's move on to. I just wanted to cover a few of these topics because I'm going to forget about them if we just keep pressing onward.
Mm-hmm.
I think I first of all I want to say this. I disagree that Noah's intended audience is the lukewarm believers, because Noah's intended audience is other atheists just like ours is. At least for the show.
Seems like it.
For the majority of the show.
I don't know what his stated goal is.
He said that on his show, or I've heard him say that.
Okay.
For my money, I mean, Christians are going to listen to some of these shows, our show, his show, and they're going to troll and whatever.
And we've had that. We've gotten those emails.
Sure. But the main point is that I think I think that it's largely we're talking to other atheists. And in that respect, I have zero objection to Noah's show. And the other thing is that we should be clear that one of the things Noah wanted to point out was that the diatribe that we played a clip of was actually much more about his dismay that other atheists have written into his show and asked him to tone down his rhetoric on his show. And I want to go on record as saying I don't think he should tone down the rhetoric on his show. His show is his show.
Yeah.
And it's not, and you know,
he has the audience that he has because of they're responding to his show and how he does it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't disagree with that at all. I would never be one of the ones to write in and say, tone down your show. He does the way he does it. He's crafted a show and I like his show. So I don't have a problem with that. What you and I were talking about, Frank, which it turns out wasn't really what he was talking about, though he sort of veered off into this, was just how we as atheists encounter the believers in our in our world, and so I think that they're two different things. I think that venue is very important, and we can't ignore the fact that we should act differently in different venues.
Right.
I mean, I don't think...
One thing that I get a little concerned about is bringing in war metaphors into and battle metaphors into civil society.
Right. Well, yeah.
I really don't think they have any place.
So you're referencing Mark's email.
I'm referencing Mark's email because, and you hear this, and I can't remember exactly what Noah was, the terminology that Noah used, but I feel like there was a militantism in it of, this is. Did he say anything along the lines of this is I don't want to. I don't
recall.
I can't recall exactly what Noah said, but Mark, I'm sitting here looking at the email. He says, yes, we are in a war, and yes, we are seriously outnumbered. Well, I don't disagree with the fact that we're outnumbered, but war is a tricky metaphor because it allows for behavior that it almost says any behavior is acceptable, and I just don't agree with that.
Right. We're not shooting anybody.
No,
we're not trying to hurt anybody.
And Mark clearly is not advocating that we go out and kill everybody who disagrees with us.
It's not
that's
war.
not, and that's not what I'm saying. But war allows for behavior that is different.
This is barely even a culture war.
I hate the idea of war being thrown around too much because when war happens, there are wars that need to be fought.
Right.
Real wars.
Yeah.
Right. There are evils that have to be fought down in the world from time to time. And unfortunately, we're a little too happy. We're a little too hawkish, both with our language and with our military. And it just, to conflate the two and to get the two mixed up with each other, I'm very uncomfortable with it.
He's speaking figuratively, and I get that. But here's the thing.
But the war war metaphors for me are, I can't.
But what he's doing is making this, I think, a much more horrific thing than we're actually dealing with.
Right.
What we're dealing with are differences of culture and differences of belief, and sometimes that encroaches on our rights. As when we as atheists have to defend our right to have our children go to school and not be preached at and not be made to say a prayer when
Absolutely.
That's a problem, and that's
right.
But we're not talking about defeating slavery here. We're not talking about getting the right to vote.
Right.
This is not that big. It is big. It's important for us,
right.
And I believe in the cause.
Right.
But we're not at a war.
Right.
We're just negotiating civil society.
Yeah.
We're just trying to bring us closer to...
Right. And if all you're going to be doing is volleying nasty barbs across to the other side, you're not ever going to have a conversation with the people who are willing to have a conversation.
Correct.
And so, I mean, again, I'm just harping on Mark for some reason, but he brings up, what would you...
Well, he harped on us. That's fair.
If you were meeting Pat Robertson, what would you say to him? And he actually isn't that far off of probably,
I say, why would you say anything to him other than just having an interesting conversation with the man? You're not going to convince him.
You're not going to convince him of anything. And I think more than anything, I'd be like, you have provided us so much wonderful material on our show. We clearly disagree, but
I want to adopt him as my crazy grandpa. Are you kidding me?
Helped us facilitate so many conversations that are in response to what you have to say. We clearly don't agree.
Right.
But thank you. I enjoy the clips that I see of yours on the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, that's along the lines of what I would say. Why? Because I'm a polite person.
And yeah, exactly. You're not, first of all, we have to get to another point that you and I were making when we were talking earlier, which was that there seems to be a goal among many atheists to convert non-believers to atheism.
Right.
And I have to say, I'm torn on this idea.
Right.
You were pretty adamant that you don't think that that's a good idea at all.
Well, and I kind of, when we were talking earlier, I mentioned, the fact that I spent 2 years of my life
trying to convert some people
on a Mormon mission.
Right.
And the whole goal of a Mormon mission is conversion.
Right.
And so I admit that I might be a little hypersensitive to the idea of conversion as a goal that any group should ever have.
Right.
And one of the reasons that I do believe that it's kind of just the wrong goal for anyone is because, and especially for atheists, right? Because it comes from a place of knowing. You are convinced that your way is so right that it is the way that everybody else needs to be living their lives.
Right.
And I wholeheartedly reject that, especially as atheists, because we we don't know. If we're honest with ourselves, we don't know that there's no God. We know that there's no evidence for God.
Right.
And so we choose to live our lives free of superstition and myth that there's no proof for.
Right. And it seems to work out awfully well.
It works out great.
However, I see. So I'm with you. On one hand, I think religion tends to be pretty poisonous. I think that that God belief hurts people. It keeps them from good critical thinking. A lot of the time, it can cause them to oppress their fellow humans in ways that they wouldn't necessarily do otherwise. Right. Certainly can be a very expensive proposition. If you're a Mormon, 10% of your gross income is expected to go to them. Yep. So there's a lot of downside to religion, and I would love to free people from that.
However, then I say that you should work on your loved ones. I think those are the people that, mass conversion is probably a little bit of a problem. Working on your loved ones and just
I don't even know about that. Like, I'm not even convinced that you should work on your loved ones. I have loved ones that are believers.
Absolutely be pointing out flaws in thinking. I don't think that that's a problem at all.
I think you should point out
understanding that the goal may not be to convince them that there's no God. Right.
That's what I'm getting to.
Just helping them make better decisions and to think more clearly.
Convert them to
they're going to deconvert themselves eventually.
If they're going to.
Yeah.
And the goal should be, what we should be fighting for is not converting everyone to atheism. Right. What we should be fighting for is converting everyone to critical thinking.
Absolutely.
To skepticism, to clarity of thought.
Yeah.
And to personal integrity and honesty. And if I have personal integrity and honesty, I'm going to admit to myself that I don't have all the answers.
Exactly.
And so I can be wrong about something, and I will vote the way my conscience tells me. I will always act in accordance with the dictates of my conscience. Right. But I will not necessarily think that my conscience needs to be the be-all, end-all decider of everybody's life. Right. And there are lots of people who are way smarter than I am. Yeah. And I'm going to disagree with a few of them, but I'm not going to be like, well, I definitely know they're stupid for thinking that. And me saying that put me on another thing that I wanted to say.
Oh, please do that, Dan.
Which is that so there's this huge distinction that has been made, and Noah pointed this out in his email to us, that he never advocated mocking people. He only advocated mocking ideas.
Okay.
I think, and we went off as though he had talked about mocking people. Here's where I fall on this, and here's where I think I was going without actually saying it, without actually forming the thought cogently enough that it actually came out this way.
Right.
Which is that a person's belief, especially religious beliefs, becomes so much identified with their self, with who they are, with what that believer, how that believer identifies their own identity, that they don't make a distinction between you mocking their ideas and you mocking the person. If you start with mockery, if you start with aggression and mockery, that distinction is not going to be made in their minds. They're just going to hear you mocking them. And I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a we're going to try and have somebody on that's going to clarify this point.
I'm not 100% convinced. I'm not 100% going to go down that road with you. But I will say this: as a former believer, I think the thing that I'm going to have to toy around with as far as that idea is concerned, is the way that I used to feel whenever I'd hear any sort of or encounter any anti-Mormon literature, right? And so I'm going to have to think that through, because I'm not convinced that's fully the thing. Okay. I'll have to hear some explanation and some further thought on that.
And we're working on we're working on some guests that will enlighten us and probably make our, change how we're thinking a little bit. Hopefully
clarify. I would
clarify the whole thing.
I'd like some of my thoughts clarified at this point.
Right. Another thing that's come up on both on the Facebook, in the members only lounge, and a couple of the emails that we received, we made a big distinction between satire and mockery. Mm-hmm. We talked about Noah talked about mockery of ideas, of bad ideas, mm-hmm. and how he thought it was an important thing to do. Mm-hmm. And then he mentioned a bunch of TV shows and books, mm-hmm. Douglas Adams and Monty Python and stuff,
right?
That went after these ideas. And you and I said, no, hold on. There's a big distinction to be made between satire and mockery. A bunch of people have said, no, they're synonyms. I would like to clarify our point. Mockery is listed as a synonym under most definitions of satire, but they are not. Synonym does not mean they are the same thing.
They don't share a definition. Yeah.
Satire. I'll just read how Google defines both of these things.
Perfect.
Google says satire is the use of humor, irony, exaggeration, or ridicule to expose and criticize people's stupidity or vices, particularly in the context of contemporary politics and other topical issues.
Right.
The way that they define mockery is teasing and contemptuous language or behavior directed at a particular person or thing. And I think it's the contempt that you and I were talking about. Yep. And I think that even though these could be considered synonyms,
they're pretty close.
They're not the same thing.
Exactly.
And it's the contempt for the other person that they will instantly pick up on, that they will instantly dismiss you for.
Yeah.
And when we hear contempt from them, we instantly dismiss also.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that I don't buy that they are the same thing. And I think that there's an important distinction to be made because, if you watch Monty Python, if you read Douglas Adams, you don't hear contempt.
No. In fact, I was trying to think through like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Sure.
And I would think that in a way, like the beautiful thing about satire is that you can create this whole other universe, right? Where it's clear what the writer is actually talking about, right? Whether it be religious groups or institutions or whatever. I mean, Douglas Adams he was tearing a lot of things down, right? But there was, it's so ridiculously good-natured and so fun and so
it's play.
And it's playful.
It's
and
humor.
It's not that he clearly he was ridiculing, some very powerful organizations, right? But it wasn't. I mean, I just feel that mockery. You call it's more specific.
It wasn't
more
contemptuous.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, I think it would be hard to mock something indirectly. You know what I mean? Like, mockery, you'd be calling out the Catholic Church, and you're flat out mocking the Catholic Church for its set of beliefs, which Monty Python, I will say, dips into that kind of stuff.
I think they're still doing satire.
They're still doing satire, but I would say that there's a Venn diagram here, right?
Where they overlap.
Where I do think they overlap. Okay. I will say that I think they overlap a bit. So, I mean, I really think we are drawing a fine line, and I don't think everybody's going to buy it.
That's fine. I mean, we're not trying to present ourselves as like the final arbiters of this conversation. This is not like, by the way, we have all of the answers, and if you guys don't accept it, then fuck you, and we're smart and you're not.
Even though some of these responses felt like that's what people think.
Sure, I mean, we are the guys.
It's good that we're saying that we don't take ourselves so seriously. You know what I mean?
Like, sure.
I mean, the fact we clearly take ourselves seriously enough to, keep putting microphones in front of ourselves once a week and putting the show online. But anyway.
Hey, yeah, I feel like there's going to be more to this conversation, and we've just sort of scratched the surface. Strikes a lot of nerves.
What I'm curious about is because I really don't know. I want to know how we pissed people off this time.
Yeah, so I'm sure we'll find out about that soon. The other thing is, so we are gonna now. Frank and I are not experts. This may shock you. on human behavior and how humans interact and stuff. So we're going to try and get somebody on the show who can lend some expertise to this, who can speak from a position of education and authority.
That's important. Yeah.
And then so hopefully we've got some more good shows coming up for you, as this is sort of, you want to talk about an atheist movement. These are important topics as we as a group go forward.
We need to be thinking about these things. Yeah.
So
what is our approach?
We appreciate everyone who supplied a countervening point of view.
Yes.
And we encourage you to call us out. Tell us how we're wrong, because we're open to that. You can do so by writing to us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can leave us a voicemail.
Please do.
It's 424-666-8442.
We really like to have other voices than our own on the show, so that's a good way to do that. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and like it, and you'll see a whole bunch of neat stuff that Mackenzie's putting up there.
Absolutely. Or if you like a little bit more privacy, or you're just looking for a great place to vent
and to have a good
chat and to have a good time,
participate in this ongoing conversation,
then search for, because it's a closed group, so you have to search for it, the TGIA Members Only Lounge on Facebook.
Yep, and I'll let you in, and you can vent your spleen, as the old saying goes.
Ooh, please don't. That would be a horrible scene.
it would not look good. Thanks for listening, everybody. We also want to thank Mackenzie for all her fine work on the Facebook page. And good to see her the other week.
Yeah, it was cool, and I look forward to her yearly visit.
Indeed. We also need to thank our donors for this week. Stephen is now. Everybody's going back to PayPal. It's kind of weird.
I don't have a problem with that.
No, it's totally fine. Stephen has now become a monthly subscriber on PayPal. Also, Barbara did a nice one-time donation, so thank you both, Stephen and Barbara. Oh, and John is also a monthly subscriber.
Thank you, guys.
So thank you to them. If you want to donate to our worthy cause, please do so by going to thankgodimatheist.com and clicking on the... you can do it either Joyride, which is sort of, we're still trying to get our campaign over its second hump. We're working on it.
Yes.
We could really use your help on that. So go to thankgodimatheist.com, click on the Joyride button, and become a monthly subscriber.
Indeed.
It will help us out a lot.
And of course, thanks to the Red Rock Hot Club for letting us use their music.
Yep. And thanks to all of you for listening. We sure do appreciate you.
Bye.